what up? This video is going to be me discussing the hip-hop industry of 2008, whether I thought the hip-hop in general, as far as the mainstream or overall hip-hop. I'm going to give my thoughts on the mainstream, underground, independent artists, and obviously mixtapes as well. It's pretty much covering everything in hip-hop in 2008, whether I thought it was a good year for hip-hop or a bad year for hip-hop. Now, the first thing I'd ask was, this is a successful year for hip-hop. Well, in some people's eyes, especially in some companies' eyes, this was a very successful year for hip-hop. As far as the content in the mainstream, pretty much lackluster. The only thing you saw that was good out of the mainstream this year was Nas Untitled, which I would say definitely get that. If you don't own it, that's a must-buy. Definitely one of Nas's best materials in a little while. I would put it up there, you know, not his best album, but right after Illmatic and Stillmatic, there I would put his Untitled album. Excellent material from there. The other albums this year that were good was Ice Cube's Raw Footage, which was a good album, but it wasn't a great album. Now, if you're going into this album and you're expecting something great and you're expecting something like this generation's America's Most Wanted, then you kind of get a little disappointed outcome with the CD. But overall, it was pretty solid, I would say. It is a step up from Laugh Now, Cry Later. It is one of his better materials in a little while, but still not that, you know, great America's Most Wanted from him. But, you know, the one song, Gangsta Rap Made Me Do It, Why Me, and a couple other songs on the CD are very, very good. And I definitely would recommend that CD if you're a fan of Ice Cube and you're a fan of his work. Other CD that I would definitely recommend as far as mainstream, and last CD, Ice Cube, I don't know if you would classify that as mainstream. I kind of just classify him as mainstream because people know him as, you know, from his movies, from his time with NWA, and obviously his work he's done as a singles artist as well. And he's kind of so much well known that even though the CD he put out was independently put out by himself and put out by his record label, I don't know if I classify it so much as an independent album, since, you know, it actually has got, you know, some of his songs, Why Me and Gangsta Rap Made Me Do It, actually got coverage on BET and MTV, which if it was a complete independent CD, you wouldn't really see an independent artist get featured on those type of channels. So it's a little step up from an independent artist, but he did independently put it out, which I think more artists should actually go out their way and put out their material independently on their own label, or do something, get with the independent record label and come out with the material that way instead of coming out with it on, you know, Aftermath, Interscope, Def Jam. Because for the most part, you know, a lot of these record companies, unless you sell a great amount like Lil Wayne, then you're probably going to pretty much get fucked by the record company, as you saw with Papoose and Saigon this year. Both of them, well, last year Papoose already got out of his deal with Jive, and hopefully he'll end up getting a record deal of some kind in 2009 and finally drop the Nasarima Dreams, and that's a CD I've been waiting for a long time. As far as Saigon, looks like his deal possibly might be getting done soon. There's been rumors of him possibly signing with Roc Nation, Jay-Z's new record label, and possibly Jay-Z signing him to that, and then possibly coming out with the Greatest Story Never Told at some point or another in mid to late 2009. Hopefully them two albums do come out. Now, as far as hip-hop industry of 2008, as far as mainstream companies, it was very successful. Very successful year. You had some heavyweight CDs like you had Lil Wayne's Carter 3, which sold over 1 million, and one of the very few hip-hop records in a long time that's actually gotten platinum. So that says something for the hip-hop industry. It's not struggling, but when you see a material like the Lil Wayne Carter 3 sell over 1 million, that just showcases that you don't really have to be good lyrically, and you don't have to put out good material to sell records, which is a complete shame, because Lil Wayne is pretty much Lil Wayne, guys, and the guys like Soulja Boy, 3 6 Mafia, Lil Jon. They're pretty much what I would consider what's wrong with the hip hop industry, where they are only out to make a buck. They don't care if they put out good material. And back to Lil Wayne, you know, he sold over 1 million with it, so very successful year for him. As far as the content of it, didn't like it. Not a fan of any of Lil Wayne's mainstream work. Now, as far as Lil Wayne, the only material that I'll actually go out and say is good material is the Dedication 1 and Dedication 2 mixtape that he and DJ Drama put out. And those two are the only things I've heard from Lil Wayne that actually showcases that he could be good lyrically if he wanted to. If he came out with like conscious songs like Georgia Bush, talked about real issues instead of coming out with a Millie and coming out with Lollipop, then I might be able to take him serious as an artist. But Lil Wayne is not no one I'm a fan of, and pretty much one of the guys in hip hop that I would say is really hurting the hip hop industry with the material he is putting out. Then other hip hop album this year that was very successful. Another one that I wasn't a fan of, but I have to cover it since it was actually a very successful album this year, and that was T.I.'s Paper Trail. Obviously not as successful as Lil Wayne's Carter 3, but still a pretty successful album from him. And as far as T.I. is an artist that I've liked some of his material, but not that much. This album and the two previous, T.I. versus T.I.P. and the King album, wasn't a fan of that or his new material, but I actually was a fan of his Urban Legend CD and the material he put out before that. Then after Urban Legend, he put out some solid mixtapes after that under DJ Drama, as well as Lil Wayne did with DJ Drama, and actually put out some good material there. But as far as his mainstream albums, this one and the following two hasn't been that good at all. You get some good tracks, but overall, nothing I'm a fan of. Like a song like, at first I thought the worst song or the most annoying song of this year was a Millie from Lil Wayne. I thought that was the most annoying track and annoying beat and everything this entire year. Now, obviously, so many people utilized that in freestyles and used it under freestyles, and I don't understand why so many people wanted to use that beat. Then something came along with T.I. that was even more annoying. T.I., Kanye West, and Jay-Z came out with the most annoying song, most annoying beat in a long, long time called Swagger Like Us. That's the name of the song. It's a song that was on T.I.'s Paper Trail album, and I think it's going to be put on Jay-Z's Blueprint 3 coming out, I think, in February of 2009. It was one of those tracks that are going to be on both albums, and I'm a huge fan of Jay-Z, but this is probably one of his worst tracks I've heard in a long, long time. As far as his part on it, and the whole entire beat and everything was terrible. Most annoying song of 2008, I would say, is Swagger Like Us by T.I. featuring Jay-Z and Kanye West. Then speaking of Kanye West, Kanye West had a very successful year as well, as far as 808s and Heartbreak came out about a month ago, and I've been hearing it's been selling pretty good. As far as the material, was I a fan of it? Not really. I'm a fan of Kanye West's first 3 CDs, his College Dropout, Late Registration, and his last CD, Graduation, before this one. And this album, he switched up his style and he used the audio tuner, which I don't know why he wanted to go the route of utilizing the audio tuner and then trying to, instead of making it more of a hip-hop CD, even though it's classified as a hip-hop CD, it's more of hip-hop mixed with R&B and utilizing the audio tuner in every single song or in almost every single chord and verse in all his lyrics in the CD. He doesn't use it all. He uses it almost, I would say, at least 80 to 90% of the CD, which is completely terrible. One of my friends is a huge fan of Kanye West, and he loves this CD. Will not shut the fuck up about this CD. And I don't know why anyone liked this CD or anyone liked this CD as much. I don't like the audio tuner. That's one thing I think that's really one of the things that is hurting hip hop. As far as the audio tuner was out before T-Pain used it. T-Pain just brought it back to the mainstream and utilized it and got famous over it. And obviously after people say, hey, T-Pain got famous over this, Lil Wayne then dick ride it, used it on his CD. And then now it seems like every single artist in the mainstream want to dick ride this audio tuner as seen as in Kanye West's CD. And I'm not a fan of that type of style or that type of music at all, utilizing audio tuner. It sounds like a robot and it makes artists sound completely idiotic, and especially Kanye West. I'll say Lil Wayne kind of utilizes it a little better where he doesn't sound so idiotic, but I'm not a fan of the whole audio tuner thing. And then let me get on to the part of hip-hop this year that was great, and that's the underground and independent artists, which what I'm going to do here is a lot of these albums you might not be able to find your Best Buys, your FYEs. Some of them you might. You might luck out and find some of them at your local Best Buy or FYE. But in case you can't find them, I'm going to put links in the description over there for some sites you could check them out on. Most of them you can get on undergroundhiphop.com, and the 2 CDs, which Paris, Acid Reflux, and the T-K.A.S.H CD, Turf War Syndrome. You can get that off of Paris's own record label, GorillaFunk.com. And as far as these CDs I want to get into, the first one I want to discuss is East Coast Avengers, Prison Planet. This is an excellent CD, excellent group. Most people will know one person out of this group, and that's the rapper The Trademark, which people will know him from as far as wrestling with his stuff he did with on John Cena's record and his song they did with Kurt Angle's entrance theme. But don't take that, don't look at that and think that he cannot be a good lyrically, because he definitely dispels that myth with his rapping ability on this CD and the two other rappers, DC and Esoteric. And definitely a great CD. You possibly could find this at your Best Buy and FYE, but I would recommend buying this off of undergroundhiphop.com, mainly due to the fact that if you buy it off of there, not only you get the Prison Planet full CD, but you get two bonuses with it. One of the bonuses is a instrumental mix, and the other one is the main reason why I would recommend you get this is you get the See the Bars EP from East Coast Avengers. And what I mean EP is pretty much a CD that isn't a full CD. It's pretty much, I guess, somewhat of a sampler, and this has about 7 tracks on here, and main tracks that on here that I love is the Kill Bill O'Reilly remix, which is the same track that's on the Prison Planet CD and the same song that you hear featured on my YouTube channel, but it's just a different beat. It's not as good as the original beat, but still pretty good. And then the main track on there, which I love, is the Dear Michelle Malcolm track, which is completely excellent. Great material. You definitely need to check out East Coast Avengers, Prison Planet, great CD. Another one that I definitely want to recommend, this was one I just recently got over the last week. Came back out in September, but I didn't really find out about it or finally find it in stores until recently, and that's Ill Bill. And he released The Hour of Reprisal. Excellent CD from top to bottom. If you're into political rap, just like East Coast Avengers, they're very politically driven. Same with Ill Bill. And even, I would say, Ill Bill, he does one thing in a few tracks that I think, even if you're not a hip-hop fan, you might want to give him a chance, because he's a big fan of hip-hop and metal, and there's a few in heavy metal, and he kind of mixes some tracks in with a little heavy metal. He even did a song called The Unauthorized Biography of Slayer, going through everything from Slayer from start to end. And then he did a few tracks that are excellent, like one track that I love a lot is Society is Brainwashed. Definitely a great album that I would highly recommend fans fans of real hip hop and political hip hop definitely get that CD. And like I said, if you can't find the CD at your local Best Buy, which I was able to find it in mine, but if you can't find it in yours, just buy it off of undergroundhiphop.com. Then the next CD, which is a CD that didn't expect to come out this year. This was a big surprise, and to any old school hip hop fan, this was a great surprise. And finally, you saw the reuniting of Eric Sermons and Paris Smith. The group collectively known as EPMD finally released a new record. The album was called We Mean Business. It just came out this month, about 3 weeks ago. And this is an album I would definitely recommend if you're a fan of EPMD, fan of old school hip hop. Very good album from them. Very solid material. Not as good as, obviously, their early work, but still some great material and great production from Eric Sermon in here, and Paris Smith, obviously both of them being great lyrically, and you get Raekwon on there and a few other people as well. Just a great album that I would definitely highly recommend. That's one you possibly could find at your Best Buy. If not, buy it off of undergroundhiphop.com. Then the next two I want to cover, and these two are independent artists under the record label Gorilla Funk Records. And if you can't find, well, I know you probably most likely cannot find these two in stores, but if you can't find them in stores, buy it off of either undergroundhiphop.com, or buy it off Paris's site, which is gorillafunk.com, which you can get these on the store on there. And the first one is Paris, and this is a very politically driven CD. Great material from Paris. Most people might know him for that one, for his CD that he came out with, the Sonic Jihad back in 2003. Still, he's pretty much somewhat relatively unknown to the masses, which is definitely a travesty of justice, because he's great lyrically and a great artist, and someone you definitely should check out. Definitely, I would highly recommend you check out Paris Acid Reflux. Buy it off of either undergroundhiphop.com or on GorillaFunk.com. And the next one is another artist under the label GorillaFunk.com, and this is T-K.A.S.H and his CD Turf War Syndrome, and you can get this off of GorillaFunk.com. Like I said, all these CDs that some people might be relatively unfamiliar with, I'm going to put the links in the description to the sites where you'll be able to buy them, either under undergroundhiphop.com or Paris and the T-K.A.S.H CD you can get on GorillaFunk.com. Then the next one, which is this definitely one you'll be able to find in local retails, and that's Immortal Technique, the Third World. Pretty much this is a CD right before that's pretty much a hype up to Revolutionary Volume 3, which is going to be coming out sometime in 2009 from Immortal Technique. He is great lyrically, definitely one of the top albums of 2008 from Immortal Technique. Third World, definitely would highly recommend this CD to anyone. Pretty much any of these underground or independent records that I'm mentioning as far as albums, I would highly recommend all of these. Only ones that I've mentioned that I wouldn't recommend are the are pretty much, you know, the Lil Waynes, the T.I.S., and the Kanye Wests. Then the next one is one of my personal favorite hip hop artists, and that's KRS-One. He came out with Maximum Strength back in June of this year, and this CD definitely good material from him. Not as good as 2007's Hip Hop Lives, but still a great material from him, like always. And me being a huge fan of him, I'm gonna like it no matter what most of the time from him. And very solid material from him, and definitely would recommend it to anyone that's an old school hip hop fan or a fan of KRS-One. Then the last of the independent CDs that I want to recommend is Jedi Mind Tricks with a History of Violence 2008, and definitely is a CD I would recommend. This is that I would say Jedi Mind Tricks, History of Violence, the Ill Bill CD, and EPMD. Those ones and Immortal Technique, you would definitely find those in local retails. The other ones you might have to go out your way and either order them from BestBuy.com, FYE.com, Amazon.com, or like I said, UndergroundHipHop.com, or like Paris and T-K.A.S.H, you can get those off of GorillaFunk.com. And then last thing I want to do is kind of discuss a little of mixtape CDs this year that I would recommend. And what I'm going to do here is there's actually this one site, it's called datpiff.com, and if you're a fan of hip-hop, this is a site you would definitely want to sign up for. It's all it is, you just have to sign in, give your email address, and just start an account on there. And this is a site where you actually can download mixtapes from, and it's an official site where you can download. It's not illegally to download them or anything like that. If you're not a premium member, you just sign up on the site. You get a limit of 5 mixtapes you get daily. But, you know, it's a very good site. I would recommend any hip-hop fan to sign up for it. I'll put the link of datpiff.com right over there in the description, and some links of mixtapes on there that I would definitely recommend you to either listen to. Well, if you don't sign up to the site, you can at least listen to the material on the site, because even if you're not a member of the site, you can at least go in there and listen and view every mixtape and listen to full tracks if you just want to, you know, hear it that way instead of, you know, wanting to burn a copy for it on CD. Definitely it's a great place to get mixtapes from. And the ones I would want to recommend off of this site are, as far as checking out, are the first one is Joe Budden's, and it's called The Preview to the Padded Room. And this one I would highly recommend, mainly due to the fact of one of the best hip-hop tracks of 2008, and that's the Who Killed Hip Hop Part 1, 2, and 3. And on this mixtape, it's all in one track. It's 15 to 16 minutes of hip-hop greatness. Pretty much him going through what he feels killed hip-hop, and pretty much he comes to a great conclusion at the end where pretty much he's completely right. What killed hip-hop, or what's hurting hip-hop in some people's eyes, is mainly the consumer. People that go out their way and get the Lil Waynes, that's what's hurting hip-hop. People that buy Soulja Boy, that's what's hurting hip-hop. It's not actually the artists or the material, it's actually the consumers, and some of the consumers that are so dumb that don't want to actually hear real hip-hop, but want to hear this commercialization of hip-hop, this bullshit called Soulja Boy and Lil Wayne, the T.I.S.H, and even Kanye West. And I'm a fan of Kanye West, but I don't like it. I completely despise and hate his new material. I don't think it's good at all. It's not even good. It's not even good lyrically. I mean, as far as when people want to switch up or have some, different type of sound to it, Mos Def does it good. A Tribe Called Quest did it good back in the day. Brand Nubian did it good. And Q-Tip did it good. Those guys can kind of have like an alternative sound of hip-hop and do it in a good way and not, sound like an idiotic using an audio tuner. And then another CD I want to highly recommend off there is the Game's mixtape, LAX Leftovers. And the main reason why I want to recommend this is mainly due to the fact that two songs that I wish were going to be on the Game's LAX CD. And to talk about that Game LAX CD, because that's actually one major CD that I forgot to talk about this year, and that's Game LAX. And this was a pretty much very big disappointment for me. I was expecting a lot from it. Didn't deliver to the level I was thinking of it. I definitely wouldn't recommend people to get it. And I'm a huge fan of Game. I like, the documentary, and I like Doctor's Advocate, but this was a completely big step down from the previous two CDs he put out. But mainly the reason why I'm recommending this mixtape off of here is due to the fact it has two tracks I love and one track that was going to be on LAX, and that was Big Dreams, and the other one is a mixtape song that was actually he put out a video for, which was pretty much his version of a mix of the Ice-T song Cop Killer and a mix of Public Enemy's 911 is a Joke. And definitely a great song there, and I definitely would recommend that mixtape. Then another mixtape on there, and this is one of my favorite artists in hip-hop now, and that's Papoose. And yeah, I would definitely recommend his mixtape, or at least checking out his mixtape, Build or Destroy. And another one is Bishop Lamont, and this is Dr. Dre's protege. The mixtape's even called the Dre Protege, and this is a album that is going to be. This is an artist that Dre's actually producing his debut album. Bishop Lamont. A lot of people might know one track from him because one track did get a good airplay online, and that's the song "Grow Up" from him. And definitely would recommend him. Definitely he's a great artist, and hopefully in 2009, just like Papoose and Saigon and a couple other artists, hopefully they finally come out with their albums in 2009, especially Dre's Detox, which coming in 2009, we're almost approaching 10 years for that CD finally to come out. Hopefully it finally does. Another album off there I would recommend is artists that some people might know, but kind of relatively unknown to some people probably, and that's Crooked Eye with the mixtape Block Obama #2, and great mixtape from him, great material. It's only a 9 to 10 track mixtape, but still very good material. And then the following two things I want to recommend, and these two are pretty much mixes done by a unit of people that do mixtapes for Cannabis, the rapper, and they're called the Brotherhood. And these are two mixtapes or two EPs or whatever you want to call them that I would recommend. And I'll actually the people that actually produce this actually have a link on Rapid Share where you can download it and get it that way, and even on Mediafire there's one user that's part of the Brotherhood as far as the mixers called Lord Zero, and great stuff. And Cannabis put out some excellent material here. And great mixing, great everything from here, from production, everything. And the first one's an EP. It's Cannabis Time Chamber 2012, and the other one is Cannabis the Doomsday Prophecy. Definitely, I would recommend getting those two. These two are not anything you could actually find on site to buy or in stores. You would have to just get it on the route of downloading it off of Rapid Share, and I will put the links to those two mixtapes and the mixtapes that I think are on Dat Piff that I would definitely recommend for people to check out. But that's basically my thoughts of hip hop in 2008. As far as hip hop this year, was it a good year or a bad year? It was in my eyes. I thought it was a very good year for hip hop. Now, but you have to go further than just the mainstream to get some good material. You saw, great stuff with Nas Untitled. Ice Cube's Raw Footage was good. And Game's LAX was very disappointing. And then you saw another album, Jeezy's The Recession. And actually, some people might be surprised. I am a fan of Jeezy. And Thought the Recession his CD was good, but not a highly recommended CD. But it's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Young Jeezy. Saw some great independent albums from the East Coast Avengers, great rap group. Ill Bill put out a great CD. EPMD, shockingly, finally came out with a new CD. It finally reunited. Great to hear them back together. Paris came out with a good CD. Immortal Technique came out with a good CD. KRS-One came out with a good CD. So overall, this was a pretty successful year for hip-hop, but you have to go further than just the mainstream to find the good material, which is kind of a shame. I wish this, conscious rap and this good, independent artist, I wish these would be the artists that would be featured on the BETs, the MTVs, but some of their material wouldn't get featured due to the fact that a lot of these rappers, especially East Coast Avengers, Ill Bill, Paris, T-K.A.S.H, and a couple other artists, Immortal Technique, and KRS-One, they're kind of, a lot of them are somewhat politically driven, where some of their material is so politically driven that it wouldn't get aired on TV for mainly that reason. So, in some eyes, in my opinion, this was a pretty successful year for hip-hop. Not the greatest year, but you saw some good material put out from independent artists, and you at least saw, some solid material in the mainstream, but nothing to really say was excellent other than Nas Untitled, which I would definitely recommend anyone to get that CD, and all the CDs that I'll recommend it, that possibly some of you might be somewhat not known to. I'll put the links in the description for where you can get it on undergroundhiphop.com and gorillafunk.com, and obviously you can check on Amazon, Best Buy, and FYE. And like I said, this was a pretty successful year for hip-hop. In business sense, it was definitely was, as far as content-wise. Yeah, if you look at just the mainstream, it was terrible, other than, maybe 2 or 3 albums this year. But, overall, with the whole scheme of hip-hop, counting, the mixtape artists, the underground artists, the independent artists, and at least, some people in the mainstream that try to put out good conscious material like like Nas. You saw some good stuff this year. So overall, I would say it was a good, solid year for hip-hop. And, yeah, that's it. Peace.